A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a dramatic turn of events on the international stage, U.S. President Donald Trump has issued a 50-day ultimatum to Russia, demanding a peace deal regarding the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Failure to comply will result in severe sanctions targeting Russia's energy exports, a move that could have significant repercussions for the Kremlin's economy. This ultimatum, however, is viewed by many analysts as inadvertently providing Russia with additional time to intensify its summer offensive against Ukraine. Despite the pressure from the U.S., the resilience of Ukrainian forces is expected to hinder any rapid territorial gains by Russia, making the situation increasingly complex. Russian President Vladimir Putin has made it clear that any peace negotiations hinge on Ukraine's withdrawal from the 4 regions that were illegally annexed by Moscow in September 2022. These regions, which Russia has yet to fully capture, remain a sticking point in discussions. Furthermore, Putin demands that Ukraine abandon its aspirations to join NATO and accept stringent limitations on its military capabilities, demands that have been firmly rejected by both Ukraine and its Western allies. As the conflict continues, Ukrainian forces are facing a chronic shortage of manpower and ammunition, compelling them to focus on defending their positions rather than launching counterattacks. Despite a recent surge in Russian offensives, including aerial assaults on major cities like Kyiv, analysts believe that significant territorial breakthroughs within the next 50 days are unlikely. Russian troops have made incremental advances, particularly in the eastern regions of Ukraine, capturing territory not seen since the early phases of the invasion in 2022. They are currently closing in on key strongholds in the Donetsk region, including Pokrovsk and Kostiantynivka, aiming to disrupt supply routes and encircle Ukrainian defenders. The capture of these strongholds would pave the way for Russian forces to advance towards Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, potentially allowing them to seize control of the entire Donetsk region. This situation poses a direct threat to the morale of Ukrainian forces, especially if fighting spreads to the Dnipropetrovsk region, a crucial industrial hub located just 150 kilometers west of Russian positions. In the neighboring Luhansk region, Ukrainian troops maintain control over a small area, but Moscow appears to have deprioritized its capture. The other 2 regions annexed by Russia, Kherson and Zaporizhia, remain far from total control, with significant challenges ahead for Russian forces attempting to reclaim these areas. Early in the conflict, Russia swiftly captured Kherson but later retreated from large portions of it. Any renewed attempt to cross the Dnieper River to regain control would require substantial resources that Moscow currently lacks. Similarly, fully capturing the Zaporizhia region seems a daunting task. Recent developments indicate that Russian forces have made gains in northeastern Ukraine's Sumy region, but military experts suggest they lack the strength to capture the regional capital. Putin has characterized this offensive as a means to create a buffer zone against Ukrainian attacks. However, analysts argue that the Russian military's capabilities are insufficient for a successful takeover of Sumy. Meanwhile, Russian operations in the Kharkiv region have yielded limited results, as fierce Ukrainian resistance continues to thwart their advances. Some observers speculate that Russia may leverage its territorial gains as bargaining chips in future negotiations, potentially trading them for parts of the Donetsk region still under Ukrainian control. Despite the challenges facing both sides, Ukrainian commanders assert that Russian capabilities are overstretched and any significant breakthroughs are unlikely. The ongoing conflict has left Ukrainian forces feeling outnumbered and outgunned, relying heavily on drones to monitor and counter Russian movements. The proliferation of drones has transformed the battlefield, allowing both sides to track troop movements with remarkable precision. Russian military analysts acknowledge that Ukraine's drone capabilities complicate any rapid advances by Moscow. The Kremlin's strategy appears to focus on wearing down Ukrainian forces through a methodical approach, applying pressure across various fronts while ramping up long-range aerial attacks on critical infrastructure. The goal is to exhaust Ukraine's military capacity to the point where it can no longer effectively defend itself. Ukrainian troops on the front lines have expressed frustration regarding delays in U.S. weapon shipments, which have forced them to ration ammunition and scale back operations as Russia intensifies its assaults. In response, the The US has announced plans to sell weapons to NATO allies in Europe, allowing them to supply Ukraine with much-needed military assistance, including Patriot air defense systems. Analysts emphasize the urgency of expedited weapons shipments from European allies to help Ukraine withstand the ongoing Russian offensive. As the situation continues to evolve, experts warn that the pace of Russian advances is likely to intensify, putting increasing pressure on Ukraine's armed forces. However, they also highlight that European NATO allies possess the capability to meet most of Ukraine's immediate needs, provided they can secure critical weaponry from the US. The unfolding conflict in Ukraine remains a focal point of international attention, with the stakes rising as both sides prepare for what could be a pivotal phase in this protracted war. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.